Okay, it is November 1st. I'm just a little over a month away from the second surgery. One of the questions that I get, especially right now with the surgery coming up, is you've had this for a while. Why in the world are you doing this again now? What's different about now? I have to tell you, it's not been an easy decision because my first one was not successful. It really, kind of took the wind out of my sails. And I went back to doing Botox for years. I thought that's all that really was available to me. As the years went on, and I'm gonna take my glasses off so you can see my weird face going on here. As the years went on, it was 2 years, 3 years, and the Botox was not being as effective. So the time frames between Botox injections were getting shorter and shorter. I started noticing, which they tell you, that the longer you have Botox, the more likely it is to affect the side of the face you're getting most of the Botox on. Up until really recently, and probably for the last 3 years, I've been getting Botox about every 6 weeks. Got to the point where I was getting it every 6 weeks, and I was getting probably about 3 vials of Botox. And if you've done any research, that's a lot of Botox. It's probably the maximum amount of Botox that a doctor will give you. I would do this in here. If you look at some of the resources down below, I put a video of somebody actually getting Botox injections. It's not fun, it's not pretty. So I would get a Botox injections all around this eyeball in very sensitive areas. There were some times where they actually would pull down my eye and would give me a Botox injection right inside the lower lid. Those were the worst. Your skin is so sensitive in here. I'm just tired of it. It's not working real well. Between the Botox and all the twitching that goes on, my vision has gotten super bad. When my eye is contracting like it does, and I try and read or work on the computer, it puts too much strain on this eye. So that's one of the reasons I've really been intent on doing a lot more research about a second surgery. Let's go back a little bit. 5 years ago, I really started thinking, I can't keep doing this. It's only getting worse. It's not getting any better. I'm getting to the point where there are lots of other things happening because of the condition, because of the Botox. The eye is probably the most bothersome. I can't read any longer, and I love to read. I can't work on the computer for blocks of time when it's particularly twitching because I just can't see out of this side of my face. I love to laugh, and I hate this look when I laugh. One of the things that bothers me is that I don't smile or laugh with teeth anymore. So this side of my mouth doesn't uncover my teeth. And while this is disfiguring and bothersome, the last couple years, my dental situation has gotten worse because this side of my mouth just doesn't work right. Like others, I bite this side of my mouth more frequently. I feel like I lisp because this side of my mouth doesn't quite work right. Eating hamburgers or something big is like near impossible. You kind of got to slide from this side because this side of my mouth is not opening right. I can't whistle because the side doesn't work right. Not that I whistle a lot or that's a reason to get surgery. Vision, probably number one. The increased dental issues is certainly problematic. And the other thing that's happened in the last 3 to 5 years is I am noticing, and it's documented, I have had hearing tests, I'm losing my hearing on this side. It is noticeable enough that the doctor did recommend an MRI, which those of us in the hemifacial spasm community will just tell you it's not a brain tumor. It's probably because I have a lot of scarring going on, and the nerve that is affected with the hemifacial spasming is right next to your hearing nerve. I'm not a doctor, but I think it's because I have a lot of scarring in there. As this progresses and I have more damage to the facial nerve, how could it not damage the hearing nerve? And to me, that's why I don't hear as well. I don't think that's going to get any better, except I'm hoping that maybe with the surgery and if they remove some of the scar tissue, maybe I'll get some relief there. Those are like the three major ongoing things that made me start digging into it. The other is, with this condition, I get really debilitating headaches. When the spasming, you can imagine, as your face is tense and spasming, it creates headaches. I do get spasming while I sleep. I've had this for so long that it doesn't significantly bother me when I'm sleeping. It can keep me awake if I wake up in the middle of the night and it's spasming. There are little techniques that I do. Sometimes I do them, I don't even realize I do them because I had this for so long. Like often my husband will say, "Oh, you've got a headache now," because I like have my fingers spread over my face and I'm pressing in on my face. So pressure points do help. But because of that, I get really debilitating headaches. I try and make it through the day. I try not to take pain medication. I hate taking pain medication because it's not really solving the problem. It's just masking things. I've tried muscle relaxants. Those are no fun, right? Because then you just drool out the side of your mouth. That isn't working right because all your muscles are too droopy. That has been horrific for me. That has just been a constant. I get some relief because my very kind doctor who does the Botox for me, she gives me Botox injections all the way up into this area, which is where the massive part of the headaches start. They'll start back here and then just radiate here. They can be like a migraine in their intensity. Historically, when I was getting close to Botox, I would say the week before I was due for a Botox, I would work a full day. When my husband came home, I'd be, "Hi, honey," mwah, and I'm in bed because of the intensity of the headaches. Heat helps because it's trying to, relieve some of the muscle tension. I have this device. It's an eye massager. It looks like a VR mask, so I kind of think it's cool. It is heat, and then it does massage, pressure massage, and that helps a lot. If I really have to take medication, sometimes at night, I will take Tylenol PM to help me fall asleep. Sometimes I'll take a prescription drug called clonazepam. I hate taking those, but sometimes I have to. When those things are happening, I will work a full day, go to bed early to try and stave off the headache. I will oftentimes wake up with a headache in the morning and then just deal with this low-grade headache all day long until I can't stand it anymore, and then I go to bed, and it's this horrible cycle, which I hate because that's not a way that I want to continue to live my life. About 5 years ago, I started reaching out per however my insurance would allow me to the neurosurgeons in my healthcare plan. I would ask, is there anything new in this realm? Is there anything new that they're doing? Is there any new surgery techniques that you would use if you did this surgery again? And sadly, for several years, the answer I would get is, you know what the risks are. You went through this before. There's really nothing new. Obviously, you're still having a problem. We could give it a try, but, why would this be any different than last time? Which is not encouraging news to hear, right? But I would go probably once a year. I would ask for a consult and pretty much hear the same thing. About 2 years ago, I switched jobs, had new insurance. So did the same thing. Thought, all right, got insurance, new doctors. Let me inquire of the new doctors. And sadly heard the same thing. But also at the same time, I found the hemifacial spasm support group that I've got linked down below. They had a little bit different story. When I started looking at the posts, of course, I was particularly interested in those folks had the surgery, it didn't work, or it came back, and they've had to have second and third surgeries. What I learned was there are new things. If you're dealing with this and you haven't had an MRI and you feel like it's time between you and your doctor to get an MRI, you'll see this constantly on the Facebook page. Get a Fiesta MRI. It's more expensive. You might have to battle the insurance company a little bit about it. Frankly, I did have to battle it, even though I've had this thing for like 15 years. And it was only because of the hearing loss that they agreed. A couple years ago, the hearing loss became more pronounced, and the doctor said, well, we need to do an MRI to rule out a tumor, brain tumor, because that's usually the cause of, I forget what they call it. There's a medical term for when your hearing loss is not balanced. And they would not do it the first time the hearing loss was reported. They would not do the Fiesta MRI. In the last year, the hearing loss was more pronounced, and I had gone to see the surgeon and had an upcoming appointment to see a different surgeon within my plan. I really pushed for the Fiesta MRI, and they finally agreed. When I went to see the surgeon, it was the first time since I had my surgery that they were able to see that in the first surgery they missed a compression area. Missed one for sure, and they thought that there might be a second one in there that they're not going to know. I don't blame my first surgeon because the technology was very different back then, and how they did the surgery was different back then. Even though everybody kept telling me it's the same, nothing's different. It is different now, especially for second and third, fourth surgeries, repeat surgeries, if you get to the right surgeon. The surgeon, and they said, oh, yes, absolutely. We see something there. And yes, we would do the surgery. And I said, okay, what would you do differently? And sadly, they said we wouldn't do anything differently. We'd use the same process as we did last time, but now we can see it. And so we'll be able to get to it this time. I didn't really like that answer, because on the Facebook chat, I was educated to see that there were different techniques that can be done now. And again, please go to the Facebook site. And you can search, or you can just kind of lurk for a while, and you'll see that there are very distinct doctors and different ways to handle the hemifacial spasm. The traditional way is to go in and put padding around where the compression is. Put some padding in between what's compressing, usually a blood vessel or artery, what's compressing, and the nerve, which is what I had the first time. The technique I'm seeing more for successful repeat surgeries was actually pioneered by a Japanese doctor. And rather than putting a bunch of padding in there, what he would do is he would clean out all that padding, because in his opinion, it was creating more scarring, which put more pressure on the nerve again, which could be one of the reasons why the twitching comes back, is after the scar tissue then builds up, twitching comes back because now it's compressing against the nerve again. But he developed the use of a technique, and this, I guess, technique's been around for a while, but he developed a technique using what's called the sling method, which takes the, whatever it is, the offending vessel, whatever it is that's compressing, and he puts a little sling around it and moves it away and tacks it away from the nerves. There is nothing then touching the nerve. There's no padding, there's no offending vessel, there's nothing then touching that nerve, which then allows the nerve to heal. To me, that sounded a lot more logical and made more sense. It seemed to fit the progression of things that were going on with me. Learning that a couple years ago, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. But it still took a lot of thinking and praying and talking with my husband about it, because there are risks. And I'm 66 years old. I was worried about a stroke or something like that. On the flip side, I knew all these things that I was dealing with were never going to get better. The only thing, once I top out on Botox, there is a similar but not the same drug that they can inject, and the progression would be the same. At first it will work, and then, as your body gets used to it, it doesn't work. And then the other thing that they really, really worry about, and my doctor was getting to this point, was, is there going to be permanent facial damage from freezing all these muscles all the time? A couple years ago, I started really thinking hard about the surgery. I have to tell you, God works strangely. When he says it's time, it's like time. So about 6 months ago, when my hearing started getting bad again, and I really pushed for the Fiesta MRI, and got the Fiesta MRI, and I thought, okay, well, there's 2 doctors in the world, according to our Facebook group, that I thought I would want to do my repeat surgery. One is in Japan, and that surgery pay out of pocket. And the other is Dr. Zamarati in North Carolina. I live in California. I had no idea if this was going to work or not, but I sent my MRI to both to inquire whether or not, to get a second opinion. So I saw a local surgeon who I did not like. I mean, great doctor, don't get me wrong, very competent, great doctor, loved her, but her technique was going to be exactly the same. And I wanted to see what other choices I had out there. So I sent my MRI to both, and both of them immediately saw the problem. They both responded back with a technique that I thought made a lot more sense, and that is cleaning out all the scar tissue, cleaning out all the padding, try and use the sling to remove any compression whatsoever off the nerve. The area that they missed the first time is a lot deeper. So I already know it's a riskier surgery because they're gonna have to clean out all the scar tissue, sling the first compression area, and then move past that to a deeper area. And then also do testing, which the testing is more advanced now than it was 15 years ago. So they'll do some additional testing to see if they can make sure that they get all the compression this time. Both of them said yes, they could do something, so then it became a matter of cost. Currently, and you can see this on the chat room, the cost out of pocket for the surgery in Japan runs about $9,000–10,000 US to do the surgery, which is pretty darn reasonable. And you have travel costs and then costs to stay there. So I figured it's going to be $10,000–15,000 roughly if I pay out of pocket. That's a choice, right? Dr. Zamarati is at Duke University, very well known, very well respected, and he studied under a doctor who kind of pioneered this technique in Japan. So he studied under him, and this is the technique that he uses. So I'm thinking that the technique is going to be similar to what the doctor in Japan does, who also studied under the pioneer doctor for this new technique. I just reached out and, I was willing to pay for the consultation fee out of pocket if that's what it was going to take. I was willing to pay for the Fiesta MRI out of pocket if that's what it was going to take. But, when God says it's time, it's like time. The Fiesta MRI was done under insurance, and all I paid was my copay. because I said I wanted a second opinion, and like I said, I was willing to pay for that out of pocket, contacted Dr. Zamarati. They did the research and they contacted my insurance, and lo and behold, so far, it looks like everything is covered under my insurance, even though they're in a completely different state. So far, so good. We're planning on doing the surgery with Dr. Zamarati in North Carolina. I have family in North Carolina. I have a house out in North Carolina because that's where my grandbaby is. And it's not in the same city as Dr. Zamarati, but it's pretty close. So I can go out there, I can be comfortable, I can recover, I can stay out there. I work remotely, so I can work while I'm out there up into surgery. I can work as soon as comfortable after surgery. I'm close enough, I can take myself to those follow-up appointments if I need to, and if I need to have a family member take me, they're right there. This all literally has happened in the last 6 months, and God has made a way for absolutely everything. Everything is just falling into place, falling into place, falling into place, falling into place. The last hurdle that we have to get over is the last approval from insurance, and I expect that in the next few weeks. And I'll keep you posted on how that's going. That's what brings me to this part of my journey, and I will continue to bring you guys along. You know, there's not really anything happening right now, so I'm just going to do this maybe once a week. In between my weekly reports for a little while, I'm going to do some videos about the whole history of my journey. These are the ones that are most important because I know some of you are dealing with, do I do the surgery? Do I not do the surgery? I wanted to share with you some of the decision points I had. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you find it helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye.